It's a new White Sox report as Shane Smith was named the opening day starter by the White Sox today. Do the White Sox have the best young catching duo in the majors? Does Korey fit on this White Sox roster? And positional versatility seems to be very important to this organization. But first, if you're ready for White Sox baseball, hit that like button. And if you're excited for the return of Shane Smith Day on March 26th in Milwaukee, comment Go Sox down below. Shane Smith was named the opening day starter for the White Sox today. To go from a Rule 5 draft pick to an all-star to opening day starter all in 1 year is just a very impressive run for the right-handed pitcher. It's something that we don't see often and is very exciting for Shane Smith, for White Sox fans, and for the organization as well, that they were able to find a guy like that in the Rule 5 draft. You don't often find everyday starters or starting pitchers that are in your rotation and big parts of it this quickly, much less your opening day starter just a year later. Shane Smith certainly earned it last season. 29 games, a 7-8 record, 3.81 ERA, 146 and a third innings pitched, and 145 strikeouts to 58 walks. It's even sweeter for Shane Smith, and you can tell in the video the White Sox just posted on Twitter today that it happens to be against the Brewers, the team that left him unprotected and gave him the opportunity to be drafted by the White Sox in the Rule 5 draft, is the team he gets to make the opening day start against, which is just a really cool thing, full circle moment for what has had to have been a whirlwind last year and a half for Shane Smith. So the real question, though, is what can he do as an encore to last season? He was very, very good to start the year, just completely elite, just unbelievable. And there's all the adjectives you want. He fell off a little bit in the second half of the season with a workload he has never had before. I think he'll probably come back stronger and ready to put a more complete season together. As I mentioned yesterday in the starting pitching preview, the biggest question for Shane Smith this season on whether he can take the next leap is what he can do with his breaking ball and off-speed stuff. Because his fastball run value by Baseball Savant was in the 99th percentile, just completely elite. But the breaking pitch run value was in the first percentile. Not a guy you would expect to do much. So when you combine those two, it's kind of a weird thing to judge. But if Shane Smith was able to work on some stuff in the offseason and with the help of the White Sox pitching infrastructure and Brian Bannister, then it will be a good opportunity for him to really make a statement this season. He was very emotional in the video they posted with Will Venable. You could tell it was something that was really important to him. It means a lot. And so we're very excited for Shane Smith Day to return on opening day. Next is, do the White Sox have the best young catching duo in the majors? Teel and Quero showed a lot in their rookie seasons, and to the point where they look good enough to be primary starters on most teams in the majors. Obviously, there's established all-stars who wouldn't take them as their everyday starter, but there's a lot of other teams that would. You saw that this offseason with all the rumors of teams trying to get Kyle Teel. The Red Sox really wanted him back. No, Red Sox, you still can't have him. He's ours. And he's a guy who I think we all expect a lot of things out of, to the point where people have kind of slept on Edgar Quero a little bit, too much, I think. He's looked fantastic in the spring so far. And while spring training is not the end-all be-all by any means, it's always better to play good than play bad, even if it's for, 20, 30 at-bats at a time in spring training. So Kyle Teel's projections for 2025 are 92 games, a 248 batting average, 11 home runs, 41 RBIs, and a 1.8 WAR. Teel was really good in the second half of the season and gave the White Sox a lot more offense as he started to get used to major league pitching. For Edgar Quero, his 26 projections are 94 games, a 254 batting average, 8 home runs, 38 RBIs, and a .5 WAR. The big question facing the White Sox and the catchers is how will manager Will Venable use Teel and Quero? They both played a lot, and I think we would like to see them DH when the other's catching with some relative frequency. See if we can't get them both over 100 games played between catching and DHing. Manager Will Venable was asked last week about how he planned on using the catchers, and he said, I think it really is going to take care of itself. We know that we like Kyle catching and hitting against righties. We know that Edgar can DH. We'll have a couple of guys who will fill that DH spot versus right-handed pitching. Now, he was also careful to point out that it will not be a strict platoon between Teel and Quero, and that's good because we will need to see these guys get a lot of at-bats because it's good for their development. It's important. The biggest thing is they currently, their first rookie season, they hit like a perfect platoon combination. Even though Quero is a switch hitter, he did not hit right-handed pitching very well last year, posting just a 72 weighted runs created plus via Fangraphs. But he was outstanding against left-handed pitching with a 141 weighted runs created plus. On the flip side of that, Kyle Teel mashed right-handed pitching, posting a 137 weighted runs created plus, and struggled against lefties, posting a 65 weighted runs created plus. Now, these are splits you might expect to see out of a left-handed hitter, but it's very important to the White Sox long-term future, as well as to Kyle Teel's development to keep hitting against lefties. He's way too young to become just a platoon bat, even if it's the strong side of a platoon. And the same can be said for Quero. You know, switch hitters always seem to have one side come along first and then the other catch up. And Quero certainly wasn't terrible, but he's not a guy as of last season who you want hitting against right-handed pitching every day. And injuries happen and you miss a couple weeks. You don't want to totally rely on either one of these guys to only hit against their strong side. So it's important for them to get at bats in the DH spot with each other catching, so that way they can develop against that weak side of their pitching. Please share and subscribe to the page. We are trying to get to 100 subscribers. We need 59 more to get there. Please share it with a friend, and it would really mean a lot to us. Does Korey fit? What the White Sox decide to do with him says a lot about how they plan on using Teel and Quero. Having a third catcher on the roster is something that not a lot of teams do, but could really help the White Sox with their versatility in games by being able to play both of those guys. And then you can DH the catcher, and you don't lose the DH spot if you have to replace Teel or Quero, whether that be for a pinch hitter or a pinch runner in a late game situation where you need then to put a catcher in to replace them. Korey also has no minor league options left. So because of that, we need to find out whether or not he can make the team or if he'll get traded or probably just DFA'd and he won't be part of the White Sox roster. So that's really the roster crunch we're seeing from the White Sox as a part of this season. Positional versatility is clearly very important to the White Sox. The way that they've established this roster and this organization gives the team the opportunity to keep three catchers because they have guys that can play a lot of different positions. And infielders, outfielders, there's some overlap there. Guys like Brooks Baldwin can play the infield and the outfield. And then you've got Colson Montgomery who can play multiple positions across the infield. Same with Chase Meidroth. Miguel Vargas to a certain extent as well, though you don't really want to see him playing up the middle, but he could play second base in a pinch. He could play first and third. And then Luis Angel Acuna is a guy who has been both an outfielder and a middle infielder throughout his career. And you can see that the White Sox have used him that way in spring, and they started to give him some reps in the infield as well to give him opportunities to get ready for the season, where manager Will Venable can use him in a variety of different ways. It's been a big part of the draft philosophy as well. They've drafted a lot of shortstops, and shortstops can generally move around and play at different positions because they usually have strong enough arms, as well as the athletic ability to move to third or second or a corner outfield spot or even center field. And it allows them to keep drafting the same kind of players and keeps them out of the kind of issues that they had under the last regime, where they had so many first basemen that they ended up having to play some in the corner outfield spots. And that really impacted the defense with guys like Andrew Vaughn and Gavin Sheets, who were first basemen but weren't going to play because of Jose Abreu having to play left and right field. They were not good out there. We all saw it with regularity, and you could tell that it was a problem for the White Sox. So it's clear under Chris Getz and this organization now that they want that positional versatility. Most of the players on the roster can play multiple positions, and it's a situation where you're able to plug and play guys and hunt those matchups offensively to help you generate runs. Outside of your corner outfielders like Andrew Benintendi and Austin Hayes, Benintendi can really only play left. Hayes could play both corner outfield spots. You don't have much in the way of guys who are stuck to one position and one position only, which gives Will Venable a lot of options. And I think that'll be important as we work through this season, but also the next couple of seasons when you got new guys coming up. I mean, there's the two of the top 5 prospects for the White Sox are Caleb Bonnemer and Billy Carlson, and those guys are also shortstops. Not to mention Rob Chalowski, who is the anticipated number 1 pick, another shortstop. Having the ability to have these guys move around gives them a lot of options. Sam Antonacci, I think we'll see him play some corner outfield in the minor leagues this year, maybe as an opportunity to see if he can make it up to the big leagues, whether that be for this season or going forward, to go along with Braden Montgomery, who plays a lot of the outfield, different positions. He can play center, he can play right, he can play left. So it's very important to the organization, and I can see where the vision is coming from, and that's a good thing. It's good to be able to see the vision of what the White Sox organization is doing. It's important. Thanks for watching. As always, go White Sox.